Why is it so hard for Mitt Romney, to catch the hearts of Republicans? What's your analysis of that?
I think fundamentally, uh, when he was in public life, when he was governor of Massachusetts, he governed as a moderate. He knew he had to appeal to more independent and moderate voters there, and so he governed pretty much in the center, and he has since then shifted position on so many issues to the right, and even, frankly, shifted position further right than where he was a year ago on some issues, that people just fundamentally say, I'm not sure I really believe what he's saying.
The more the American public looks at both candidates, Gingrich and Romney, the more they see who they are, and the unfavorability rating for Romney went way up the last couple of days. So I think for now it's really sit back, relax, and then frame, as he did in the State of the Union, frame the issue not as a referendum for the last 2 or 4 years, but as about the next 4 and about equality. And can you imagine a president who owns 17 homes and doesn't think that $300,000 is a lot of money?
I have a quote here from John Huntsman, who dropped out of the race, also very distinguished diplomat. He was ambassador to China, and he said last week, he said, "This race has degenerated into an onslaught of negative and personal attacks, not worthy of the American people and not worthy of this critical time in our nation's history." Do you agree?
It is amazing, this negative campaigning that you buy or make films against another candidate. It's unusual, let's say, for our kind of election campaigning. So the influence of money and the negativity of the electoral process are the 2 things which struck us in Europe most.
And now what you're seeing is super PACs on the Republican side being used inside the party, one against the other, to destroy each other. Mm-hmm. And it's fascinating. I think at the end of the day, even within the Republican Party now, people are starting to say, maybe this wasn't such a good idea. Maybe these super PACs are not such a good idea.
It's going to be a battle of 2 frames. One job frame, Mitt Romney is going to present himself as the job creator, right? The guy who knows how to create jobs, the businessman. And the president tries to create a frame of equality and of everyone paying their fair share. And by that framing, Mitt Romney as not paying his fair share, obviously.
I think you guys have pretty well covered it. I would agree. I think Mr. Fick stated it well with respect to Occupy Wall Street and how the 99% versus the 1% fits right into the way Obama is framing his re-election campaign. As to what's happened to the Republican Party, I'm baffled about that myself sometimes. It started with the whole social conservatives. The Republican Party used to be dominated by fiscal conservatives, and then it was dominated by the social conservatives who paid lip service to the fiscal conservatives and didn't really care about budget deficits as long as their taxes didn't go up. And then then the Tea Party got fed up with that and said, okay, the fiscal issues are more important. We still don't want our taxes to go up, but we want to cut spending. And they were all about spending cuts. And now they've all just kind of morphed these, and I think you're right that the Tea Party is very split. And so they haven't been able to get behind one candidate.
I think Occupy Wall Street plays again in the equality frame that the president tried to frame in the State of the Union. I don't think the president can't officially or publicly sort of solidarize with these hippies in their tents, but he can put the debate on a higher level, and I think the equality debate and the Occupy Wall Street debate are the same. The question now is, can he actually convince these people to mobilize for him and to vote for him? That's the big question that I wouldn't dare to answer right now.
Domestically, Obama had a wonderful vision to be the first post-partisan president who could work with the opposition, with political parties, groups together for the good of the country. Well, this didn't materialize simply because he couldn't find a partner.
I think people are really frustrated on the ground, and I don't think that the political class works for them anymore. And I think that the president tries to appeal to that, call it left, call it populist, you know, it just is, I think, taking people where they stand right now and taking their, you know, appealing to these people who lost who lost their wealth in a recession.
I think that the president did one other thing last night. The whole theme of the talk was a talk between the president and Congress. Why can't we work together the way our military guys work together? And he mentioned, you know, all the successes, the troops coming home from Iraq, getting the guys who went and got Osama bin Laden, and of course everybody cheers and says everyone cheers the troops, but then he says, why can't we work together to accomplish the mission the way they work together? And of course there he's pointing out that the stumbling block, the difficulty, has been the Congress. And the approval ratings of the Congress are down to 9%, the lowest in history. 9%, single digit approval ratings. And so he's pointing out that, you know, he's not necessarily to blame because they've not been able to fix things in Washington and move forward. And so, and he comes across again as being very reasonable, I'll work with you.
I mean, he had this dynamic in 2008. I mean, this was one of the most dynamic campaigns ever. Why did he lose it, or how did he lose it?
You know, it does take two to tango. And the president, I think, made every effort to reach out. And by being reasonable and coming across and saying, you know, here are my thoughts, Congress, you guys work it out, let's be reasonable. He was hoping, I think, that there would be some mature, responsible people on the other side who would say, okay, let's work together. But, unfortunately, having a majority in both houses was not enough.
You know, you always campaign in poetry and you always govern in prose. But the transition from campaigning to governing was a little too slow, in a sense of it took some time to get the campaign machine up again for the healthcare issue. And he lost some, you know, his progressive supporter base by reaching out to the Republicans, which I think was a, you know, smart move. But I think that's when he started to lose his glamour.